Hi, I'm Deanna Joe, and welcome to my channel, Responsible Faith. Today, I have a very special guest with me. A lot of you will recognize her, but I have Lori Wilcoxon with me, and she is going to share basically her story out of the UPC, what it was like for her in, as well as many of you will remember her YouTube channel because really it's impacted a lot of people who follow my channel. And so she's kind of going to talk about that and update us there too. So anyway, welcome, Lori.
Hello, and I'm so glad to be here. So glad you gave me the opportunity to kind of share a little bit about. I know I've shared it a lot on our channel, but a lot of those early videos, I was requested to take them down, and I did. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and that was requested by Rick.
So my ex-husband,
Yeah.
he we did get out at the same time because of some situations that he was dealing with our whole marriage, and I finally decided it was just too much, and so we were paying it forward doing the channel, but he decided that that was no longer his direction, and I believe if I'm not mistaken, I'm not speaking for him, but I believe he's gone back to the organization. So he did not want to be labeled anymore as a leaver,
Right.
and requested that I take him down. And I'm kind of a peacemaking person. I wasn't looking to argue or fuss or
Yeah.
fight with anybody. So I did take them down.
And it was very gracious of you to do that because it pretty much wiped out most of your content.
It did. Yeah. A lot of the
Anything
content.
with him in it. And I'm talking about Rick. Most of you who only knew them through the channel would have known him as Rich, but his actual name is Rick. So
It was actually Richard, but
Richard. Well,
yeah. And it's
only
funny
when he
story
was in
because my
trouble though,
husband's,
right?
yeah. But
Richard.
my husband's name now is Rick. So
So it's like
it
Rick.
was super happy for me. I didn't have to learn a new name, in the throes of madness. You're like, Rick, same
Yeah.
name. So
And for those who wondered, what happened, Lori and Rick divorced. And like she said, it was due to issues pretty much long-standing throughout the entire marriage, and they just got to be too much. And so they parted ways. And that's as detailed as we're going to get because we're not here to say anything about anybody. We just want to kind of,
trying to share my side of 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 the transformation and what happened.
yeah, while kind of letting everybody know sort of what went down because it was kind of abrupt for those who were just following through the channel.
Sure, understandably.
So let's jump into your story. How did you get into the UPC? You were not born in this, I know. You
No,
joined as an adult. Talk
I
about
did. So I was 28 years old, and I had a brother that passed away, and it was the first loss I had experienced. And my go-to was, I'm going to die. I'm going to live it up as best I can. So I did that. And I did the drinking and the partying. And I had a son at the time, my firstborn son. And at the time, I was managing a credit union here in town. And one of the people that was a patron of the credit union invited me to the church. I had always believed that there was a God, and I had believed that because I had a Bible, I was okay.
yeah.
Because there was a Bible on my coffee table, I was fine. And also because I lived in America, I
Wow.
was by default a Christian. Uh, um, so I was invited a couple times, and the person that invited me ended up becoming my husband. He invited me, and I
To
instantly loved it.
UPC Church?
Yes, to
Yes.
UPC Church.
Okay.
I instantly loved it. I loved the feeling. Now this was in 91.
Okay.
So there was quite a bit of difference, I feel like, than there is now if you were to attend UPC church. But the the feeling I got was great, and it was Jesus. I mean, that's what I saw was Jesus, and
Mhm.
the emotion filled services appealed to me in some way. I had never been a part of anything like that.
Mhm.
And so it was exciting and new. And here's this, handsome man that's invited me to church. And so within 9 months, we were married
Mhm.
uh, because everybody thought I was going to be really good for him. Even though before we even got married, he was calling me names and showing anger towards me. And I just thought it was because he needed a wife.
Yeah,
And then
that
after we
fixes
got married, everything
everything.
would be fine.
Yeah.
Clearly it was not, and
No.
the verbal abuses continued. And we were married for 8 years and had one son, product of that marriage. And without going into too much detail, I knew that I could not get married or could not get divorced from him without adultery. And he took care of that for me.
I, I know the story.
And so I divorced him, and the church was, albeit shocked, because I was pretty good at hiding, the activity, but I think there was enough knowledge of his behavior that they realized that I was justified. So they stood behind me in that. And granted, after I got in, I had like a 3-year honeymoon period where I saw no one could do any wrong.
Okay.
And I feel like that was just, I was a new convert, and I don't even feel now like I was a new convert to the UPC. I was a new convert to Jesus. And I
Okay.
was a new convert to the grace and mercy that I had received from him.
Hmm.
And so, well, anyway, so I was single for 4.5 years after that divorce,
Right.
still
And
in the
that
church.
that divorce basically was from a marriage where you went into it with a job.
Oh, absolutely.
Your job was to fix things.
Yeah, I was good for him. Many people told me I would be so good for him. And,
Yeah.
as kind of a new convert, I was just wanting to do good things, right? And so that was a
Impressionable
good
and
thing.
yeah.
And he cared for me as best he could, but he mentally was not able to maintain a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
So,
And so you
uh,
were single for 4 years.
so single for 4.5 years, and knowing that, or feeling like there's going to be nobody that would come along because I didn't want a new convert,
Hmm.
and everybody was already married. So along comes husband number two in the church, and he was going through a divorce himself, and he lived in about 200 miles away. We met through a mutual friend, and he was good to me. He was good to my sons. We never fought. I had no qualms about, you know, this would be somebody that would take care of me. And as a woman with two children, I needed that. I needed that security. I needed the security more than I needed passion in the marriage, which we had none of.
Yeah.
Um,
And this
and
is
not
Rick
even,
you're talking about now.
yeah, and
Yeah.
not even from the beginning.
Right.
But like I said, we never fought. He provided for me. I stayed home and raised the boys. And
Hmm.
although I went to work once in a while when I just wanted to, but I didn't have to work. And that
Right.
was very nice, especially in a religious situation where there's always something to do at the church,
Yeah.
always, a Bible study to teach or whatever. He was he taught a Bible study, and he taught the one Bible study of why even Christians should get rebaptized, kind of thing. And I knew throughout the marriage too that even though I dealt with some very devastating things, I couldn't tell anybody because it would ruin him, and I knew it would ruin us.
Yeah.
We were both very deep, very inner circle people. Because of his job, we moved around several places, and that was exciting for me because the home life was kind of boring. So the moving was exciting. We moved to Texas and to Lincoln, Missouri, and back to Texas. And with every move, we would become part of the inner circle of that UPC church in that city. So I knew that there was a lot of similarities, but I began to notice that there was a lot of different, like some things were okay at this church, but not okay at this church. And I questioned that because I always thought every place was the same and everybody was pretty much similar.
Well, and when they make it sound like it's all by the Bible, you would assume that, right?
You would think so.
Like God wouldn't have different rules for different churches.
You would think so. And because I was of the ilk of most holy, most, no slits,
Oh,
no
really?
tight clothes, not even clear nail polish. Oh, so and so has makeup cover, and that was, oh my gosh, I can't believe that,
Yeah.
because I would never do that, and I like no cuss words came out of my mouth for 26 years, not a single one, not because I'm so great, but because I felt like I had kids watching me.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was doing a lot of stuff that maybe I don't know, did I have to do it? And so on our last move up to Lincoln, Nebraska, we were moving up there to help a pastor friend of his to kind of get this church going. And so we were, again, inner circle, always at the church, always helping out. And my mom had given me her wedding ring, and it was kind of like this. It was ornate, and it was, beautiful, but it was my mom's, and I wanted to wear it. And I started getting some like, are you going to wear that? Yeah, I didn't understand why the judgment and why the accusatory tones that I was getting. This was a piece of jewelry from my mother, and it was a wedding ring, and I was married. So what's the problem?
Yeah.
So I had to go to the Word and figure out why I believed what I believed so that I could answer these people that were kind of questioning me with what I thought was no good reason.
So did the church there explicitly teach no rings, or was it just kind of a tone where people knew to toe the line?
No, it was taught. He was a hardcore hellfire damnation preacher.
Okay.
At first, we loved it because he was backing us up on every single thing,
Yeah.
First, we loved it. And then we were like, why do we need to be yelled at and screamed at from the pulpit?
Yeah.
I remember one time he reared back from the pulpit and he said, I'm just going to say it. If you're not praying, you're going to hell. And I was like, wow, that takes a lot of courage to say something like that. And so it took about a year and a half of study that started out very, very slow. I wasn't questioning things. I was just, well, wonder what that says, because it'd been a long time and I'd been in for 26, 27 years. And I was like, I wonder what that says. I can't quite remember what that scripture is, where it is, blah, blah. And they became more powerful and the scriptures became more like speaking to me, and I would screenshot them and send them to Rick and say, this doesn't make sense with what we believe and what this says. It's contradictory. Contradictory. And then sometimes we would talk about it. But my mind was solidly going, this is ridiculous. I can't do this anymore. And so there was one day that I cut my hair and I just trimmed it off, and I went to church that night, and the pastor's wife sat behind me. And
so
I
when you
suppose,
say trimmed your hair, what are we talking here? How long was it? How much did you cut?
I probably cut that much off.
Okay.
And it was mostly, the split ends and stuff.
Yeah. And how long was your
hair? It was about the top of my bottom, I would say, about mid back. Yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
And I suppose that because this was my last service that I went to, so I suppose I was kind of an air of rebellion about me the last couple services. I'm just guessing now. So I went to that service, and then I told Rick, I said, I can't go anymore. This is crazy. Things aren't adding up. So I didn't go to the next service, and he did. And the pastor approached Rick, and he said, Rick, where's Sister Lori? And he said, she's not coming back. And he reared back and told her, she's going to hell. My wife saw her haircut, and she's on a very, very bad path. And he came home and told me that, right? And so I thought about that, and it festered and festered and festered. And I thought, this is BS in the largest way. And so I called him, the pastor.
Hey.
He wasn't there, but I left a message. And he called me back about an hour and a half later, and I happened to be like at Walmart or something. So I'm in public, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm done. What you guys are preaching is untrue. And he came back at a cut. We went back and forth just a little bit, and it wasn't peaceful at all. And I said, I'm really sorry that you're in a cult. And he hung up on me. And that was the last time I had talked to him. And then that was the last service that Rick went to. So, they say that the pendulum swings, right? So when they say when you leave, it swings way over here.
Yeah.
And I agree with that 100%, but there's a good reason for that.
Oh, yeah.
Once you have been so tight and so under the thumb, if you don't do this and find out, whoa, that's too much, can't do that. And I got drunk a couple times, can't do that. So I'd back it off. And you have to find where your pendulum is. And God made each of us so unique that we each have our own kind of pendulum, biblically sound, but we all are at different places in our walk, right?
Right. Everybody has different weaknesses, different struggles. Something that maybe you would be free to do might be in an area where I struggle more. And so I would have to have stricter boundaries in my own life just for my own.
Right.
Right.
Now, causing you to stumble would be you saying to me, oh, Lori, come on, let's go have a drink. Come on, you can be okay. Let's go have some drinks.
Yeah.
Now that could cause me to stumble. Now, I don't believe anymore, and this is ridiculous, that if I wear something that's sleeveless or a little bit less than what somebody else wears, that it might be causing my brother to stumble because he would lust for me.
No.
I mean, come on, people. Like,
self-control is one of the fruits of the spirit. If you don't have that, you need to get back to the basics. I'm not your problem, right? You can cover up everybody with a burqa in the church, but the reality is you're walking out that door and living your life the rest of the week. So if you have no control over yourself, you're in trouble.
Yeah, in big trouble. Yep. So after we left, and then there was a little bit of space in there where I had found 2, maybe 3 videos on YouTube of people that had left. but they
Mm-hmm.
were old videos. It was like maybe 2 to 8 years old and no updates. And I was like, shoot, I don't know where these people are now. Like, what
Yeah.
happened to them? Are they okay?
Yeah.
So when we decided to kind of pay it forward and start our YouTube channel, that was one of the things that I purposed, that this will not, I don't want this channel to get old. I'll at least have one update every like 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm.
And
And what year was that? It was
so
20.
that was the last
Okay.
part of 2017.
And really, there wasn't much out there as far as a channel dedicated to it. Lois does have some videos on for the spiritual abuse one, but as
Mhm.
far as a channel that had any amount of videos other than hers, you guys were really one of the first.
Well, and it was so exciting because we put our email address in there,
Mm-hmm.
and we would get emails and people would give us their phone number and say, please call me at such and such a time. I'm thinking about leaving and I just want to talk. And we would take calls from people from all over the country, and we would just listen,
Yeah.
and we would just listen. And it was so moving because, like, I felt, I'm not a counselor. I don't have any counseling training, but I'm an encourager. And I just felt like just listening and encouraging them to do what they need to do was helpful. Even them speaking the words, I think I need to leave, or this doesn't seem right. Even them speaking those words gave them power. And then later, I'd see them in an ex-UPC group, or they call again and say, we're doing great. And then we got on Marco Polo for a while, which is a video chat group. And it was just, it was the most satisfying thing I think I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And it did frustrate me when I was asked to take those videos down. I wish I could have just like cropped them. But
Yeah,
apparently you
because
can't crop a video.
it was a lot of videos.
Yeah, I think we did about 20, and then we started for about 3 or 4 weeks. We started doing a live Sunday morning
Mm-hmm.
thing, just because we weren't going to church anywhere. We thought maybe other people weren't either, and they'd want to just do a live. And we got some people that would join us on that, but it didn't last too long. And then because of that pendulum swinging and him doing his thing and me doing my thing, and we were always in agreement that we were going to let each other do our thing.
Yeah.
Because of that, I couldn't in all good conscience say I was his wife anymore. And so I said, we're done. And when we divorced, it was in April of 2020,
Yes.
and they let us come into the court because everything was shut up.
Right.
Nobody was doing anything. And I knew that I wanted this to happen and be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so they let us come into the court, and the judge on the down level approved our paper, apparently. So I was divorced in May of 2020, and it was super scary because I had not worked for those many years. And he did pay some alimony, and I had a puppy. I had a dog that we had driven to Mississippi and picked up. My friend, that if she's going to watch this, and she'll be like, no, we don't live in Mississippi. And I cannot remember the name of the city, but we picked up this puppy, and the puppy got me through COVID, because I got on YouTube or on TikTok and started making crazy, stupid videos. And it was just so much fun. And I actually lost the sign on to that TikTok. So I've gotten a new TikTok now. And I mean, I've learned a lot on TikTok. It's not just for young kids. I've learned how to paint my house and how to redo furniture and whatever. But so after the divorce, I got a job at Walmart, and I loved it, in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing cashiering and just whatever they needed. They were getting ready to train me on the service desk, and mom kind of needed me up here. So I transferred up here with Walmart. Who knew you could transfer, 700 miles away with Walmart, but moved back to Missouri in October, and had kind of a crazy few months, and got a job at the police department. Back with the police department. I had been there before, so they apparently liked me enough to hire me back.
What's not to
And
like?
but I was the last time I worked there, I was the church girl. And
Oh, yeah.
so I had a kind of a space of about a year and a half where, people be like, they didn't know whether to cuss around me or, they were like unsure. And I had a issue where I couldn't wear my hair up at work because I was afraid they would think that I was still the church girl. And
Okay.
anyway, it was a struggle. I had to walk through it. And then I met the absolute love of my life. And we were married last December, a year ago.
Yes.
And it has been just rainbows, and my husband is a Baptist. He was Baptist. He would call himself Baptist, but Christian first. And he just taught me so much. Like, he's taught me so much about the love of God and the grace and mercy of God. And we've had some phenomenal conversations about scripture. And so I didn't mean to mention, when we were in Lincoln, after we left that bad UPC church, we felt like we had to go to church somewhere. We've got to find someplace. So we found an Assembly of God church that was fabulous up there, that had small groups.
Okay.
We found a small group really fast, and come to find out, there was a girl in there that had come out of, I want to say she was Amish or Mormon or something like that.
Mennonite, maybe?
Something, but she had come out of it. She had been in it when she was a child. She was raised in it. And she was super helpful in helping me understand, what the whole Bible is talking about when it talks about the grace of God and Jesus as our personal, like the savior that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that was a tagline that we never would use. Jesus is your personal savior. Well, it means something totally different to me now.
Yeah.
So
I remember one time before, and I can't remember if we just talked about this personally or if you said it in a video, but I remember one time you said you reached a point in the UPC where you didn't like who you were as a person. Like, you kind of didn't like who it was making you into.
yeah, it was making me very judgmental, and it's kind of a catch-22, because when you go for so many years and you look so different, and other people that don't look like you aren't as saved as you are, if that's possible.
Yeah.
There's levels of saving, I guess. It goes without saying you're gonna have judgment for people. And I didn't like that part of who I was becoming. And I think it came to a head after my youngest son was up and out. It was really like, I became more judgmental and more critical of others that didn't want to hear what I had to say. And I'd lived this my whole, all my 30s and all my 40s and a lot of my 50s. I felt like I'd given up, and I had given up a lot of quality time with my family and my mom, and just so much sacrifice that I didn't feel was necessary, because I was seeing there was Christian people all around me, and, well, were they saved? It didn't register that they were just as saved as I was.
Yeah.
I felt like my crown was going to have more jewels. And then the whole casting your crown at Jesus's feet. Like, I know there's rewards for our actions, but I came to determine that my actions that will be rewarded are the Jesus that I can show to others, the love that I can show to others. And I used to see that that love was sharing this truth with them, but that's not what Jesus said. He said to feed the hungry and give water and visit those in the prisons. And I'm not, I haven't arrived. I don't have all the answers, but that right there seems to be the crux of what Jesus is speaking to me, that his love is shown to others as.
Yeah. Yeah. When you left, what was your exit like? Were people kind? Were people mean? Did people
So
say
because we left in Lincoln and I had spent most of my church life here in St. Joe, St. Joe people didn't really know.
okay.
And so when I started posting pictures of like I'd post a picture of myself with my haircut, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd text from one of the church people in this city saying, what's going on? Why are you, is this, I can't believe this. I got one text from a woman. She's like, I'm having an out of body experience. I can't believe that you're not in the church anymore. And when they say, in the church, they mean
Right.
in that
In their
church,
church.
which you can't
Yeah.
possibly be. But uh, I just, I mean, how did I respond? I just would respond with thank you for your caring. Sometimes I got a little bit frustrated and I'd say thank you for your judgment of my appearance. But
Yeah.
hey, what do you
Nothing wrong
say?
with
I
pushing
mean,
back a little bit sometimes.
yeah. So, and then when Rick and I got divorced,
Mm-hmm.
we posted something on Facebook because we didn't want a lot of questions.
Right.
And I feel like I was really good at putting on the dog and making everything look like we were happy.
Yeah.
Especially with Facebook, you can post,
Yeah.
happy pictures and nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes.
It's true.
So it was a shocker for so many people because of that as well. And I got the texts about that too. Um, why are you why are you giving up on your marriage? It's
So,
unscriptural, it's unbiblical.
and they didn't even know the details.
They
But
didn't
like,
even know the details. They
I'm
didn't even
curious.
ask me the details. It was my fault because I was
Right.
now happy. I
I
think
was going to
happy.
ask you, did Rick get emails too?
I think not.
That's interesting.
If he did, he didn't tell me.
The lady with the cut hair is the one that's assumed to have been given up on her marriage, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And it was extremely frustrating because I had said I would not divulge the backstory
Yeah.
because he didn't want me to. And so, but I was slap happy to be out of that situation. Not because I had found another man, because I think there was people that thought that.
Yeah.
Uh, usually when you look at a couple and they're getting divorced, the happiest one is the one that's obviously going out or or doing something wrong. You can't possibly be happy. The sad one has been jilted and
Done
jaded.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a lot of tears on his end and not on mine, so it looked or appeared like I was throwing in the towel for no good reason whatsoever.
I get that because that I was the same with my first marriage. I think people were shocked when they found out because I didn't tell anybody until I had kind of sorted through it myself and felt emotionally strong enough to deal with everyone else's shock and surprise. And so I think people were kind of upset that I wasn't all weepy and upset about it. But like, I mean, I was through it, like mentally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and the same, it had been a long time coming. People had no idea what I was living behind closed doors. And so,
Yeah.
you
That
know,
is,
yeah, how'd we get
that's
out of our divorce? Just these
ah,
bitter backsliders talking about their divorces here.
bitter, bitter. I love your hat, by the way. That is so
Thank
cute.
you. My not bitter hat. Every time I wear this, people are like, "Are you going to be selling those?" And I keep saying, "Yeah, I kind of thought about, having a little storefront and selling some of the hats, but
Where
in a
did
responsible
you
thing."
make that?
Yeah, I did. I made it through one of those made to order.
Oh, okay, like Etsy.
No, Printful, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have thought about it, and so many people have asked, and I'm always like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking about it, but then I don't know, there's just something that feels weird about doing anything for profit
I
when you
agree.
have a ministry that is trying to help people who have been abused and exploited to no end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I've thought about because of the channel kind of like the last video I posted, I didn't get a single comment. And I was like, well, maybe I'm done with this. So I'm like, how can I monetize this channel? So if I go another direction, totally, I don't know.
there you go. You can refinish furniture.
There you go. Yeah. I thought about moving hacks because I'm pretty dang good at moving hacks.
After all
So
these moves. So I'll ask you where you landed spiritually. I mean, you landed in the grace of God and in faith.
so I never lost faith that God loved me.
Hmm.
I never thought I was going to hell because I left an organization. That just seemed so crazy to me to think that this organization had a handle on heaven.
Hmm.
So I never even considered that because I left the organization, I was going to hell. And I knew that there were healthy churches out there. So I just started kind of looking online and not watching services, watching preachers, knowing what I could deal with and what I couldn't. There's preachers out there that something as simple as their voice grinded on me. I mean, something like that. I just knew I couldn't sit and be a part of. So it took patience to kind of wait on the Lord, wait on what I needed to do. We did not find a church until after, we were married, and we started attending one church, and they were talking about church discipline, and little red flags kind of went up, and I was
Hmm.
like, this is fine. If other people want to do this, it's great, whatever, but it's not for me. So we had gone there for a few months, and we just stopped. I had started to like join groups and things like that. And then we left, and I thought, you know what? The next place we find, we are going to be the 80% that does nothing. And, they say the 80-20 rule.
Hmm.
Um, and we're going to be that 80% for a while until we know without beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is where we're going to land. And so we've found, I think it's a Calvary church,
Oh, Calvary Gospel.
um, out
Calvary,
of, yeah, out of
Calvary Chapel.
Calvary Chapel. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But they just recently went to Calvary Chapel, maybe 5 years ago or less. I don't know.
Okay.
And with every sermon, we we talk about, what do you think? What do you think? And we're just so on board. We're very, very happy. And it's a very large church,
Okay.
and they do small groups. So we can kind of melt into the background. And if we don't want to show up, and if we want to watch it online, or if whatever, it's all good.
Hmm.
It's a pretty small town. So we know some people, but the congregation being so big, you could sit someplace different every time if you wanted to, and nobody'd know if you were there or not. So we kind of like that. And but spiritually, I think that if a person has not found a congregation that is to their liking, that doesn't, that's not a big deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I went for a couple years without that, and I still felt like I was still a child of God.
Mm-hmm.
Did I pray as much as I did? No, because you know why? Because every Sunday service, we would be down at the altar in the UPC church praying and crying.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that now. So naturally, it's going to be different. But the words of that preacher, if you're not praying, you're going to hell. Sorry, mister. That's not the Jesus that I know. That's not
Yeah.
the God that I serve. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just growing one scripture at a time, one conversation at a time, and trying to be a little better the next day and be a little, it's like when you fall in love with somebody, you want to be the best you can be for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're learning even more, falling in love with God and Jesus, his son, his only begotten son. And although we know works don't save us, we do want to do better things,
Right.
do better works, be better. Although I don't, my vernacular is, when it comes to things of God, it's strained at times, just because of all the things that, in the church, when you talk about scriptural stuff and you think you sound like such a know-it-all and everything, and you've got it all hammered down of what the Bible means when it says this and that and the other. I don't have that now. I need help every single day.
And you don't want to sound like that. Like, I get it.
No.
Like there is trauma and a resistance associated with certain phrases, certain ways of responding, the screaming, preaching, like all the things that just did not work.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
person distances themselves from. So I get that.
And I will say too, after we left this last church,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I started counseling because I needed to know. I kind of wanted to take the direction of more healed
Yeah.
when we were, trying to find a church, and it's helped tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's very supportive, and counseling is the bomb.com. I'm telling you, people my age, I mean, I'm 61,
Yeah.
and our generation, and even the church too, but our generation really didn't understand what counseling does for people and how it's helpful. And teaching me how to redirect my own brain after so many years of being taught what they teach, and the depression and the thought patterns of, submit and be meek and be this, after so many years of that, you have to learn how to redirect your thoughts to where you know how to deal with things other than just going to the altar and crying. Although there's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah.
sometimes I don't have the privilege of an altar in my, at my computer at my job.
Well, and if
And
it fixed things, if it actually worked, the UPC would be full of the most mentally healthy people on planet Earth. And
yeah,
it's just the same as any other group. Everybody has their
yeah,
struggles. So I mean, I am a firm believer in prayer. I cry when I pray, I worship, but the reality is you can't beat therapy when it comes to learning coping skills and processing some of your past trauma.
that's true. And if it worked, there'd be no handicap spots, right?
Oh my. Take down the hair. Okay. So last but not least, before we get ourselves in trouble here, um, let me ask you the question I ask everyone. You all know what it is. Are you bitter now that you've left the UPC and you have spoken out and said negative things about the organization? Is it because you're bitter?
So I have a lot of reasons to be bitter.
Yeah.
I was hurt by people.
Mm-hmm.
I lost a lot of time with my family. I was hurt by bad doctrine.
Yes.
Very hurt by bad doctrine. I was hurt by 2 bad marriages that kind of went awry from the get-go. But I can't help but see the people that are in the organization that are just kind of regurgitating what they've been taught as hurt people. And so if I was going to be bitter, I would have to pick somebody or people to be bitter at.
Yeah.
And I just can't do that. Like I don't feel like they're like most of them. I will say most. I think there are those who know it's bad doctrine, who know it's bad doctrine, but it's their livelihood and they can't change. And for that, I'm sad too. But how could I be bitter at people that are just trying to do the best they can, just like I am?
Yeah. And
It doesn't make any sense.
UPC people, like really, with all the rules they have and restrictions, I mean, they are trying hard.
They are trying hard.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking.
It is.
So what would being bitter like? I mean, it doesn't compute in my brain, because if I'm anything, I'm hopeful that some of those years that I feel like kind of I've lost, and I have regained a lot of family ties and things that I missed out on. And honestly, my 60s are going to be better than my 40s or 50s ever were.
You go, Lori. That's what I want to hear. That's what I keep telling everyone. People turning 40, because I'm 47. I'm like, girl, let me tell you, 40s are awesome. So when I hit my 50s, I want to be able to say, don't worry about this. The 50s are the best. So you keep telling me the 60s are going to be great, Lori.
I mean, I'm going to be retired in a few short months, and my husband's going to be retired a few short months after that. And girl, not that we're not living life now, because we truly are, but after that happens,
yeah,
watch out, United States, because we got a truck and a camper, and we are going to town.
That's going to be fun. I'm excited for you guys. You and I have been friends for a little while now, and I remember how rough things were at a few of those times. Yeah. And you don't know what it does to my heart to see you so happy and to see things going so well for you. Like I can't even tell you how happy it makes me.
I mean, you give God the glory, right? Like all those years in the church, I saved no money for retirement, not a dime. Every time we had some money after leaving a job, we'd blow it. Get it? Either give a lot to the church and blow the rest or whatever.
Well, the Lord,
I knew I was going to work forever.
Well, the Lord's
Lord's
coming. What
coming.
do you need money for?
The Lord is coming. And I thought, honestly, this, maybe it was a little crazy, but I thought, if I ever become homeless, I will help to bring the word to those homeless people.
There you go.
So God, in his infinite wisdom, has brought a man to me who for the last 37 years has been saving for retirement. And I have not a care. No worries here. So
it makes me happy too.
Pretty freaking cool. And we cuss sometimes too.
Oh, so. Lori. What do you got to cuss about? You're sitting there getting ready to retire with your camper. You got to made in the shade.
But we still have a job. We still have to work.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, Lori, I really enjoyed this conversation. I love catching up with you. I know sometimes life gets busy and everybody's doing things and you don't talk to people as much as you'd like to, but I really enjoyed having a chance to sit down and catch up. And
Very
I
much the
know
same.
that I want to thank you for everything that you have done when you left the UPC. You know, that channel, it helped a lot of people. It blessed a lot of people. I think it helped a lot of people feel like they weren't crazy. And you're very relatable and you're very personable. And I think that people felt safe sharing their stories with you. And I just really appreciate it. I really appreciate the time that you spent because I know you spent a lot of time talking with people and you had such a heart for people's pain. And I just want to thank you for that, Lori. I appreciate that.
Well, truly the pleasure was all mine. It was one of the best times in my life, I believe.
You get to meet a lot of cool people, don't you?
Very cool.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a friend, Connie, that I met from California. We actually met them in Vegas and met just so many people from across the country. And one of them we ran into in Vegas. They were just like at the same hotel we were at. And we are like, hey,
You're an ex-UPCer.
it's been so fun. It was just a part of my life that I'll just always cherish. And it's different now, but I'm glad that I was a help that I was. So
Yeah. Well, I think life's full of seasons.
it
And I
is
think that that season has a warm spot in your heart.
very much
And
so.
you did a lot of good. And, you know, now you're in a season where you're feeling the blessing and comfort of the Lord. And I'm
And the
really,
first wonderful marriage I've ever had, I'm not kidding, where we are of one mind and we are just so together on everything. We sneeze at the same time. Like seriously. I mean,
lovebirds.
and I've never known what that felt like. I mean, it's just so wonderful to know and feel loved. It's
Yeah.
just so wonderful. And you realize that every moment is precious.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that I will have 10 years with him. I pray to God and asked him for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
When we first got together, I said, please, God, just give me 10 years with him. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to know what a good 10-year marriage is.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, every day is precious, every day.
I love where you're at. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy for where you're at with your life. And so thank you for being willing to come on and just kind of give us a peek inside of what's going on with you now.
Thank you. And for what you do. You are always lining out things so good, and I'm referencing your content all the time.
Uh-oh.
The girl knows how to study.
Well, I don't know. Thank you.
Very much.
All right. Well, I'll say if you enjoyed this video, which I'm sure you did, you can like it and share it. And if you didn't, I'm sure we'll hear from you. And Lori knows. And if you would like for YouTube to let you know when I post a new video, you can hit subscribe and the little notification bell, and they will do that. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And again, thank you so much, Lori.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.